Now, I don't really use Reddit. I've only ever gone on it when I'm looking for advice on how to beat a part of a game or something. Although sometimes, I'll come across something that really disturbs me or just leaves me disgusted. In this video, I'll be talking about some disturbing and disgusting stories I found on Reddit. Without further ado, let's get straight into the video. This comes from a Reddit post from a Redditor by the name of Sparta213. In this post, he goes on about a game he remembers that is similar to the game Harvest Moon, but with a dark twist. The game revolves around you farming to stay alive while trying to keep the town from finding out about you murdering your wife. And that every now and then, cops come to search your house and you have to hide her corpse. The Redditor also said other things about the game, such as it not being 3D, and it had to have been released after 2000. Other Redditors also claim they have experienced the same game, if not something similar. People also had theories regarding the game, such as it being real but just hidden in the depths of the internet, and it not being real and just misremembered by various forms of other content on the internet, and even that it may have just been a bizarre dream. But it wasn't until 2021 when the final answer would arise. Someone came up with the theory that Sparta had seen an animation clip from a Vinesauce Joel stream. In this stream, Joel talks about a game called Body Harvest that was on the Nintendo 64, and the fact that this would be the title to a Dark Harvest Moon game.
Honestly, you know what it sounds like? It sounds like Harvest Moon, but with like corpses. It sounds like that'd be a fun game, just playing as Harvest Moon, but throughout all of the gameplay, you gotta hide a dead corpse. You know what? No, fuck. You know what it is? Harvest Moon. It's just regular Harvest Moon with your wife. And
you would then go on to make more details on the game, like the ones described in the Reddit post, like killing your wife and then trying to hide her body while farming. This theory would later be confirmed by Sparta213. Where he says he used to fall asleep watching Vinesauce videos, and that it sounded exactly like what he remembered. While this wasn't the best ending for the people who had spent years investigating this game, it's good to have closure and not have to scratch your heads pondering if this game actually exists. YayVideoGames refers to a Reddit account that goes by the same exact name. For quite a bit, this account was pretty normal, just posting on gaming subreddits like most Redditors do and not doing anything out of the ordinary, although something very unexpected would happen in 2010. In a post about the Elder Scrolls Online Oblivion mods, he would respond to the post that asked people to share their thoughts on their favorite Oblivion mods. In this post, he made a joke claiming that the uninstall button was the best. He says, "The game is great, and all by God, is it hard to remove all the junk it leaves behind on your system. You really need to check out that mod when the time comes to get rid of it. Otherwise, I think the Oscaros Oblivion overhaul is a nice start." This comment right here was the last ever normal one he made, as the next one says, "The uninstall button, the game is great. Ubisoft goes Steamworks bye-bye, always on DRM. But you oft go work, always on work DR. Check out the junk it leaves behind in you." And he said this to someone who was confused about the original comment. The phrase Ubisoft goes Steamworks bye-bye was used in almost all his comments from here. For the next few hours, YayVideoGames would make thousands of more comments based on the phrase, with all of them being typed differently. The differences in the comments also imply that this isn't the work of a bot account, but an actual person typing all of this. Some comments had links to images that didn't really seem to have a purpose. One of the weirder pictures was one of the phrases being written multiple times on a piece of paper, adding to the mystery of what this sudden and weird change was with YayVideoGames. Throughout the years, many people would find all accounts that either belonged to YayVideoGames or he was definitely associated with. It wasn't until 2018 when a friend of YayVideoGames came out with some information on the mystery and an unfortunate passing. Lyndon was the name of YayVideoGames. He unfortunately passed away in 2015 due to unaliving himself. In the post made by his friend, he explained Lyndon's background as a Jehovah's Witness and the chronic illness he had. This entry refers to a 2012 Ask Reddit post about a father's dog named Colby. Warning, this entry talks about the sexual abuse towards an animal, so if you don't want to listen to this part, skip ahead. The title of the post is, "I think my teenage son may have sodomized our dog. I'm not sure what to do. Help me, Reddit." The post starts off by him saying that his 7-year-old dog had been acting distant and almost depressed. It is out of the ordinary for his dog to do this because the dog is usually very outgoing and happy. He took the dog to the vet and soon found out he was sodomized. The father didn't know who it could be, thinking of neighbors, even gardeners, before getting the feeling that it could be someone in the family, his own son. Being scared of what he might find, the father goes to the son's room for evidence. He didn't find anything until he looked at his search history, where he would disturbingly find bestiality sites. The son then admitted to using a hairbrush and his fingers on the dog, then stopping when he started to get freaked out. The father told his son he would find a way to get him therapy without letting the mom know, and made him promise never to do it again. Unfortunately, that promise wouldn't hold up. Months passed until the next Reddit post, where the father would clue people in on the horrors that occurred. He says he found his son molesting the dog while playing tug-of-war. He then states he might need to tell the wife about it before ending the post. In the Reddit updates, he says, "My family was torn apart today over a dog. I need a beer or something. As for rehoming the dog, we'll probably do that, but there's some stuff we need to sort through first. I'm sure there's an uncomfortable family meeting in the future. Thanks for the advice and for being here, Reddit." The wife would turn out to be upset about the situation and would leave to go stay with her sister. The son just made a hot pocket and stayed in his room. 2 months passed after this post for the next one to be made. The wife started denying it ever happened, taking the son's side and saying he didn't do anything to Colby, and even saying that the father was the one to molest and sodomize the dog. The father didn't get to take Colby when he left to stay with a friend, so the dog had to stay with the wife and son. The wife also decided to separate with the father due to the incident. The fourth post came with good news, with the wife calling and saying Colby bit the son, with the father saying that Colby is a friendly dog and would never do that without being provoked, meaning the son did try to molest Colby again. The dad then went and picked up Colby to take it away and was confronted by the wife, who apologized for everything. The father decided to stay alone with the dog to ensure nothing would happen again. This was the last post for a while, and an Ask Me Anything was made but was deleted, and only one comment remained about Colby from 2018. Colby had passed away in 2017, a year prior, due to natural causes. The father and son are on better terms now than they were prior, and he hopes his son isn't into that type of behavior anymore. And as for the wife, they got separated and got therapy after losing her job. There were rumors of the wife getting into drugs, but it's not confirmed. The father is happily with another woman and her son. This story is both sad and disgusting, and I'm glad Colby was able to live out the rest of his years without any of that stuff happening to him again. The key lime pie rabbit hole refers to the big amount of comments made on blogs about a specific key lime pie recipe from a place called Captain Coochie's Key West Cafe. The comments often praise how amazing the pie is. They even claim it can do stuff like increase your little buddy's size, if you know what I'm talking about, and many other outlandish claims. A lot of these posts have loads of wordplay and puns, making it almost feel botted. And the cafe that's mentioned is an actual cafe that was located in Asheville, North Carolina. This cafe would end up closing in 2006, while the comments would start in 2009. From 2009 to 2016, there would be tons of posts, all being pretty weird, and there were different types of comments until 2013, where repeated messages were being sent all over the web. There are a lot of theories on this mystery, with many people thinking it's an ARG or a troll, to being a spam bot or some type of weird advertising mimic, and finally someone who is just mentally ill. Personally, the spam bot theory would be the first thing I would think it is, as we've all seen spam bots do this type of stuff. But unlike most bots that spam the same exact thing, these comments are mostly always different and include present events, constantly changing the posting style and then having non-spam like time frames for posts. Personally, I think all of this just excludes the theory that it's a spam bot. And what would even be gained from a spam bot constantly posting this? And the ARG or troll theory doesn't really have a whole lot of credit to back it up, aside from it just being really weird and mysterious. I mean, Coochies was named from a RNG in North Carolina, but it doesn't really connect to this at all. Really, the most convincing theory is probably it being someone who's mentally ill, but that's just what I think. This mysterious rabbit hole still remains unsolved, so feel free to give your opinions in the comment section. This refers to a post on an Ask Me Anything where the Redditor has 2 broken arms and his relationship with his mother because of it. This entry is pretty weird, so be aware of that. The Redditor says he was in an accident at 14 and was left with not that much use of his arms anymore. This led him to not be able to do what an average teenager does with their free time, leading him to become angry and lashing out on his parents. This all led to his mother helping him out, which if you ask me, that's pretty disgusting. The Redditor stated it was a more clinical relationship rather than a sexual one, with them not having any sexual desires for each other. But even as the Redditor got better, it still went on, even when he turned 17. In this time, it started to become a more sexual thing and started to become normal for them. The Redditor stated he had kissed her before but found it weird, which I mean, no shit. And being attracted to his mother before it even happened. And the fact that his father knew about this and was okay with it, even being the one to suggest the idea of helping him. Also, in the comments to this AMA, there was a lot of freaks just asking him pretty weird stuff about it. The whole thing is just pretty crazy. And the Redditor has stated that they're in a relationship with someone non-related to them, and this stuff doesn't happen anymore, thankfully. So, when the Redditor was 8, their aunt came to stay at their home. And one day, they made a joke to the Redditor's mom about needing scissors since they took so long in the bathroom. They both laughed about the joke, but for the Redditor, it was a pretty strange joke. She asked the aunt what she meant by it, and she told a story about her grandparents using shears to not clog the toilet. This was not the end of the story because the shears became an heirloom and are on a hook in the aunt's bathroom. Yeah, this story is pretty strange, and I've never heard of anyone using shears to cut poop. But there's always a time you hear about something new. Just a warning, like most of these Reddit posts in this video, this one is pretty gross, so just keep that in mind. So this guy's girlfriend decided to visit him for a bit, and as couples do, they decided to do the nasty. He decided to give her some tongue action, and for some reason, her area didn't smell good or taste good. So he put a Jolly Rancher in his mouth to mask the smell. Everything was going fine until he lost the Jolly Rancher inside of her. So he fished around trying to get it out, and when he thought he found it, he bit down on it, and instead of it being a Jolly Rancher, it was a nodule of gonorrhea. Apparently, his girlfriend had cheated on him and she contracted gonorrhea without knowing she had it. This is genuinely pretty fucking disgusting, and I honestly just feel sick reading this. Poor guy. This is a story from 2017 about a Redditor who impregnated a coconut. I never thought I would say such a line. Around 2009, this Redditor lived with his mother in Mosabe. His mother was in a health phase, so she was buying a bunch of coconuts to use in her food throughout the week. With the Redditor being a teenager, he decided to be creative and use a coconut while playing with his Johnson. His mom would be out for the day, which is when he decided to do you-know-what with the coconut. In the Reddit post, he states, "It would be a fantastic idea to do a coconut. Honestly, to this day, I can't fathom why I thought that would be a good idea. But my train of thought back then was clearly somewhat clogged. Yeah, I don't know why he thought this was a good idea, but you do you." The Redditor spends some time carving a hole for his willy to fit in. And then he does exactly that. I guess he really enjoyed this because he sticks it under his bed and uses it for a week straight. Talk about down bad. He says he did this because it had such a delightfully tight hole. Okay. The area of Mosabe was ravaged with fat, bloated flies. And after a week of using the coconut, the Redditor sees an increase in flies and a foul smell coming from his room, specifically from the coconut. He decided to use the coconut one last time before throwing it away. this would be a terrible mistake. For some reason, this guy doesn't think that an exposed coconut won't rot, and maybe that is the reason so many flies are in his room. But being stupid, he puts his willy inside the hole and feels a wriggling sensation. He sees that it is covered in maggots, rotten butter, and his own fluids. And even crazier, the maggots were trying to go in his pee hole. Yeah, disgusting. He then screams and throws the coconut on the floor, having everything spill out, never looking at coconuts the same way again. This story comes from an r/ask Reddit post in 2012. The post was titled, "Throwaway Time. What's your secret that could literally ruin your life if it came out?" You already know, warning, this is gonna be pretty gross. A throwaway account that responded to this says, "Cousin died when we were both 17. There was a reception at his house just after the funeral. I went into his room and stole all the money that was there. Just took some other valuables that his parents wouldn't realize were gone. No one knows that I did it. They just assume he didn't have any money in his room, only loose change. I don't regret it, but I will never admit I did it. Also, my cum box." This story isn't that bad. Definitely messed up, stealing money from, your dead cousin. Really, what got the attention to this comment was the cum box part. Someone then asked him to elaborate on this, and he said, "Well, it is exactly what it sounds like. It's a shoebox, or at least once was, and whenever I masturbate, I come into it. I've had it for 2 or 3 years now, I think, so it has a fair amount of cum. It smells atrocious, and I tried to burn it once. When I lit it on fire, it was too damp due to the cum that it simply sizzled, and I didn't manage to actually light it up. Turns out burning cum smells awful, so I had to spray it with deodorant body spray just to get the old smell of burnt cum away. It also has some drenched paper stuck to it. That's pretty much it. This is all odd to me. Like, why masturbate into a shoebox, and why keep it for so long? Also, this is a really big health hazard, but I'm sure if you do something like that, your health isn't the best either way. Also, apparently this being his biggest shame, it couldn't have been that big of a deal because he linked photos of it in the Reddit post. Disgusting. He also made an edit which states the following: "A lot of people are asking me why. Well, I'm apparently a rather disturbed individual, but it just kinda happened. I bought new shoes and needed someplace to come and use the box. It just escalated from there. Kept using it each time, telling myself I would throw it out soon. Never did. 2 or 3 years later, I still have it. It wasn't planned or anything, it just happened. So you need a place to do it, and you use a box. I get maybe at the moment, but why keep using it, especially for years? And with this also came life in the box." With an edit that states, "I often get PM'd about updates or current status of the box. Generally a few a week, so I might as well update this post. If anyone even gets linked here anymore. Current status, I have created life. Mold has begun to grow in the box and has taken over a fair amount. Smells a bit worse, mainly due to a damper apartment, so it's not dry as fast. Hence the reason why the mold has begun. With the guy moving to a new apartment, the semen begin to mold, then creating life. He also linked a picture of the box in its molded state, which I'm not looking at. And I really hope this guy gets rid of that box because that's just really gross." Continuing with the disgusting entries, our next story is from an r/ask Reddit from 2012. The Ask Reddit states, "Doctors/nurses/redditors, what has been your most gory, disgusting, or worst medical experience?" The story came from a reply from a user by the name of Bonsai Panda. They got a call one night to come in for a general surgery. Once she got there, she would find out this was a perioral abscess or a pocket of pus. This was located near the butthole and needed to be drained. In the Reddit post, it says, "My patient was a 314-pound Native American woman who barely fit on the stretcher I was transporting her on. She was rolling frantically side to side and moaning in pain, pulling at her clothes and muttering Hail Marys. The Redditor figured it was just best to get her to the anesthetist so they can put her to sleep so it could be an easier operation. She continued to roll around and moan in pain the whole entire 10-minute ride to the OR, nearly falling off the surgical table as they were trying to put her under anesthetic. Once she was out, the Redditor started to clean the rectal area. The Redditor says that it was red and inflamed. A little bit of pus was seeping through, and that her chart had noted that she'd been injecting IV drugs through her perineum. After it was cleaned, the surgeon started with the scalpel, causing her diaphragm muscle to twitch, causing a mix of fecal matter, pus, and rotted tissue to shoot out. Apparently, this infection was really bad, going almost a foot deep into that woman's abdomen, filled with that disgusting mixture. They were all wearing waterproof gowns, face masks, and all that protection stuff, and even that helped little against the projectile mixture, with it supposedly shooting out as far as 7 feet across the room. As the surgeon cut deeper, more would shoot out, with it coming out more violently as the patient started to seize. The amount of liquid that was coming out was so bad it started to seep into the shoes of the nurses. Then a smell hit them. The smell was so bad that it caused one of the nurses to throw up in the mass, and the other one to run out the room, describing it as getting a great big bite of despair and apathy that cremated this woman's life. The anesthesiologist then went out as a gush of pus came out in front of the surgeon, knowing that there is a bottle of something called peppermint concentrate that is in the operating rooms that helps keep smells like this at bay by rubbing it inside the people's masks. The Redditor then runs to where it should be, but isn't there. Someone must have used the rest of the supply and didn't replace any. The Redditor found the next best thing to peppermint concentrate, which is a vial of Madisol, which is an adhesive rub used for bandaging. It wasn't as good as peppermint concentrate, but it would do the job. The Redditor and the anesthesiologist used it to mask up the smell that it could mask. And the smell was so bad that it would spread out into the hallways and 40 feet down into the front desk. And you have to feel bad for the surgeon. He doesn't have anything to mask the smell and has to do this procedure that is covering him and everything around him with a gross mixture of just like terrible stuff. This is where the story gets its name, where the Redditor states he was performing surgery in the swamps of Dagobah, except the swamps had just come out this woman's ass and there was no Yoda. For the next 10 minutes, the Redditor and the surgeon stayed there in silence while the surgeon scraped up the remaining dead tissue from the abscess, having his gown covered with a mix of red and brown liquids. The Redditor then finished their paperwork and helped close the woman's wound, and shipping her off to the recovery ward. The Redditor then says, turns out 70% isopropyl alcohol is about the only thing that can even touch a scent like that once it's soaked into your skin. It takes 4 or 5 bottles to get it really clean, but it's worth it. And then the surgeon says that was bad, which is a very big understatement to, the whole situation. The next morning, the entire department still smelled terrible, with it having taken about 1 hour to suction up all the liquid and nastiness from the woman. And it needed to be quarantined for 2 days for the smell to actually go away. The final thing the Redditor says before ending this is TLDR, don't shoot IV drugs into your taint, which is something I definitely agree with. This is definitely one of the grossest stories I have ever heard, and I'm sorry I put you guys through that. This is the end of the video. I'm trying this new type of editing style with it just being gameplay in the background and me talking over it with not that much editing. This is good because it can enable me to do more videos since I'm spending way less time editing, so I can get videos out sooner. But if you guys aren't a fan of this type of, editing style, just let me know and I'll switch back. If there's something I do you don't like or you do like, tell me in the comments because I'm always looking for ways to improve. And thank you guys for watching the video, and I hope you guys have an amazing day.